Hi-yo! Hey, I wanted to do a real quick video here. I know I haven't done one in a while. I'm excited to get out here and get this going. I've been trying to get my work up and running. September so far has been pretty slow, but that's okay. I think it's going to finish strong, and I'm thinking October is going to be pretty big, so I'm excited. But I just listened to this very interesting YouTube clip from a guy who did a really good job. His whole shtick, his whole channel is all about the facts of a situation, you know, the legality of contracts, laws, etc., etc. It's very interesting. And his whole video was basically talking about the pay dispute between, women's American soccer, or American women's soccer, and American men's soccer. And the FIFA organization, whatever they are, just came out with a contract that said, fine, men and women get equal pay. Boom. This is what we're doing. This is the right thing to do. The women said no. They were like, no, we don't like this. They actually called it a stunt. And this is why that's important. Before all of this happened, and of course, you know, the commercials, the purple-haired gal talking about equal pay and all this shit, it's all bullshit. But what they didn't tell us at the time, what I didn't know, what I've just recently found out, is that the men and women had a different contract. The men's U.S. soccer team, their contract was based on a pay to play, whereas if they don't play a game, they don't get paid. The women's contract was actually based on a salary. What came with the salary were benefits, like health insurance, I believe. I think they even had dental and maybe even a 401k or some retirement plan. But they had a contractual obligation given to them, or that they signed up for, where they got a salary whether they played or not. And in 2019, I believe, the men either lost half of their pay or all of it because the season basically got shut down because COVID was afoot. Now, the reason why I brought this up isn't to discuss the stupidity of the gender pay gap and to bash it. It does it itself. But the reason why I brought it up is because FIFA effectively, in the words of this gentleman that actually broke down what's going on, he effectively called, because the men actually said, you know what, this is right. The women need to be paid the same amount as us, you know, that we get paid. And they said, okay. And the reason that is because there's a massive difference in bonus structure and compensation should the U.S. men's team win the national championship or the World Cup, or I don't know, whatever. It's like 10 times that the females can win. So FIFA basically called the men's team and the women's team bluff and said, okay, that's fine. We will give the women's team the same contract that we're giving the men's. The women came out and said, no, we don't want it. This is a stunt. Now, the exact details of it aren't entirely known. But here, the FIFA, you can look up these articles, you can look up these statements. FIFA said, you're right, we need to do equal pay down the middle regardless of production. And again, if you're anyone who has half a fucking brain in their head, you're going to know that anyone that produces more than someone else should therefore be compensated more than someone else. I should make more than some office customer service person who's filing 3 papers a day. I should make way more than them because I'm taking on greater risk, and I'm also investing my own time and my own money. So it makes sense. Last month I made $15,000 for myself. There's no office position where someone should make $15,000 in a month. I've worked in offices. I've done almost every office job you can have. Trust me, if we're getting paid $4 grand a month, we're doing pretty good. But the point is, FIFA said, hey, across the board, this is what we're doing, equal pay, it's set, we're going to go. They did something too, interestingly, where they said, you know, if the men and women win the World Cup, they're going to put all the money together in one pot and divide it equally between both the men's team and the female team, the women's team. Women said no, don't want it. They called it a stunt. They said it's not right. So let's just take this into consideration. Again, I want to make it clear, I'm not bashing the theory of the gender pay gap. It does it itself. When I was in high school and younger, it was 70 cents on the dollar. Now it's 85 cents. Very soon it's going to get to what it actually is, which is about 5 cents on the dollar. When you look industry to industry, except for the industries where women just make more than men, which they're out there. There's actually quite a few. But when women do make less than their male counterpart, it tends to be about 5 to 10 cents at most on the dollar, meaning that women get paid 90 to 95 cents on the dollar compared to men. This is how it breaks down the vast majority of the time. That's another video. That's not what this video is about. What I wanted to break down today is, based on the deal that FIFA most likely gave the men and the women said no because FIFA said, fine, you're right, it does need to be equal. Guess what? Now you're paid for play as well. Because the men don't want to take a salary. You can make more money when you're on a production-based mentality. That's one thing I like about unions. Unions, a lot of times, for the guys and gals that want it, they can go out and work weekends, they can go work holidays, they can get double time, triple time, they can go make money. Unions a lot of times provide for their skill trade workers, or whatever union is about. People can go and they can work on a production-based level. Now, that typically is outside of the 40-hour work week, of course, but that's the point. When a business or a state or a local municipality, whatever, needs a service provided to them that doesn't fit neatly in the 40-hour work week, the company who employs the techs or whatever, I don't know, carpenters, plumbers, to get those workers to go out to say, hey, we're going to pay you more because it's outside the 40-hour work week, it's in your personal time, it's in your holiday time, therefore you're worth more compensation at that moment, which I agree with. I love that. I think it's fantastic. That's one really good thing about unions. But the point is, the men were in a situation where they wanted to be in a production role. They liked the fact that they only got paid when they played because they made more money. I'm sure some weren't okay with it, but for the most part, men tend to have a higher risk tolerance than women. Not all, but most of us do. The women had a nice salary, benefits, you can look it up. I think they even had dental. I mean, it was a very nice package. FIFA called their bluff. Hey, fine, equal pay down the middle, most likely women pay to play. You don't get paid unless you play. We're gonna pay you more money. They called it a stunt. They said this is not right. We don't like it. We don't want equal pay. Don't treat us like the men. Now again, this video, I'm taking some shots. This video isn't about, eviscerating the gender pay gap myth and its fuckery. This video is really about, what kind of person are you? Are you someone who wants the security and the stability of working for someone and being kept in a nice, tidy, neat cage and given a salary, whether it's small or medium or large? Or are you someone that is willing to take on the risk for the greater reward? Okay? Me, as I'm a handyman. I only employ myself unless I have a larger job that I have to do, and even then, the guys that I hire, it's short-lived. No one's working for me part-time even, let alone full-time. It's just me. But I'm a business owner. I've taken on the risk. I have to pay for the insurance. I have to buy the gear. I have to go out and get the business. I have to contract a guy to run my website, my Facebook page, so that I can grow my business digitally and hopefully over time hire 1 or 2 guys to do more work so that I can make more work and just focus on the business. I'm taking on that risk. Since I'm willing to do that, I'm positioning myself to get a greater reward, okay? That's how that works. Again, I'm going to say this again. For some people, it may offend their sensibilities. If someone does more work than someone else, the individual who's doing more better damn well be compensated for it, because otherwise it's a perversion and it's wrong. If you're sitting on your ass and you're not doing much, you're going to get paid to sit on your ass and not do much. That's a fact, and that's actually just. You may not like it, but that's just. My point is this. What kind of person are you? Do you like security? Do you like stability? Is that what you prize and value above all else? Or are you someone that says, hey, I'll take a shot, I'll roll the dice, because if I can go out and I heard of a guy, this is kind of awesome, lives in Florida. We got a roofer in my business group, and he does inspections all the time, and a lot of work that basically 1 out of every 10 inspections, there's a claim. And then, a lot of times he finds it, so he gets it, the insurance pays for it, he gets the check, yada, yada, yada. But he knows of a guy who works for one of his competitors. He lives down in Florida. He comes up into the Midwest, into, obviously Florida's the South, in, the North, if you will, Midwest area. Spends about 4 months out of the year just going 7 days a week, balls to the wall, hard, going, doing inspections, knocks on doors. He makes about $150,000 in 4 months. Then he goes back to Florida and he chills. That guy's working on production. That guy is saying, I don't want to sit in an office and be told what to do all the time. I want to go make as much money as I can, when I want to. Now, there's risk with that because he could come up here and everyone say, get the fuck off my porch. I don't want you to get on my roof. So there's risk with that. He could be told no. But because he's willing to position himself and he's willing to take on a higher amount of risk, he's therefore positioning himself to get a greater reward. Again, find out what kind of person you are. Are you someone who likes that salary? Are you someone who likes that stability? Or are you someone who is willing to take on greater risk for a greater reward? Because it's really important. Sun Tzu said, if we know ourselves and we know our enemy, we need not fear the outcome of 100 battles. A lot of people don't know themselves, and even more don't know who their enemy is. So it's important that you find out, are you someone, and it's okay, either way, you can build wealth either way. 80% of all millionaires, roughly, are people who just had a decent job, they saved and invested over time, they paid off their debt within their means, and they have anywhere between $1.5 million to $2 million. Some people have $5 million, that's exceedingly rare, but most millionaires are people that just had a decent salary, lived within their means, invested, paid their debt off, and they're winning. So you can do it. It's possible. But you have to know who you are. And just seeing that video, it really struck me because here you have these two sets of professionals. Forget the fact that one's male and one's female. You have two sets of professionals. One was like, fuck yeah, we're willing to get paid more money, but only if we play the game. Because in 2019, they either lost half of their salary or all of it when COVID was afoot, or going into the 2019-2020 season. The men didn't get paid either at all or lost half of their salary. The women, their contract was salary. They didn't play shit and they still got paid with their nice fat benefits package, dental. That's awesome, right? But here you have these two people, again, forget their gender. One's like, fuck yeah, I'll take the risk to make more money. The other ones are like, no, please. We don't want to risk anything. Just keep paying us our nice salary. And again, I'm not bashing that. That's another video. What type of person are you? Are you someone who's willing to take on risk for a greater reward? Or do you like that air conditioning and that desk and that phone that's there for you and your little computer and your little spot? You got the pictures of your family on your desk. That's okay if you like that. But you need to know that you are that. Because if you don't, you're on shaky ground. You are on shaky ground. And that's true for the guy or gal who's like me. I should have been, guys, I've been fired from every job I've ever had. I should have been doing what I'm doing now back when I was 22, 23 years old. It would have been way different for me down the road. But my dumbass was still trying to make the office thing work or the in-house sales guy work. It's stupid. I'm not cut out for that. I don't have the ability. I don't have the desire. I speak my mind too much. It's stupid of me to be in those places. And if you're like me, you shouldn't be in an office job either. It's just the way it is. That's another video. Anyways, decide who you are. Find out who you are. Are you someone who wants security and stability? Or are you someone who says, hey, I want to make the most money I can? Because that's important. You have to know who you are. And the example, you should really look it up. It's actually very interesting. The example of the men's and women's U.S. soccer team and their compensation is a microcosm into that. Again, the women, they liked their salary. They were mad they were making less money than the men. They sold a lot less tickets. But they were mad they were making less money than the men. But it turned out they actually had the more lucrative package in time of a pandemic, because they got paid when the dudes who couldn't play games because soccer got shut down, they didn't get paid a red cent except for the money they were making outside of the league. It's interesting. Think about that. If you've liked the content, like, share, subscribe. If you've hated it, send it to someone you hate.